Hello, everyone, and you're very welcome to this channel, NarcCon, and our podcast today, which, as always, delves into the Narcissistic Personality Disorder. Because the more we understand the experience that we've been through and the person or people we're dealing with, the better we're able to plan our life around it and avoid them and be able to deal with them with the minimum amount of stress involved. Because when you know thine enemy, you can better plan a strategy for either negotiating or defending yourself against such a being. So I was thinking about the topic we could do for the podcast today, and I thought, in coaching and in my own experience, I have been flabbergasted by the behaviours, the weird, to us, weird behaviours that narcissists partake in and commonly partake in. So I thought, instead of kind of addressing it on a one-to-one, I go into the community and say, listen, these are the things that narcissists do. So if this happened in your experience, it wasn't just a one-off. It's a sign of a possible narcissist. So I thought, if we cover it, then you're forewarned. And to be forewarned is to be forearmed. And in any situation in life, and particularly when you're negotiating or having to deal with one of these creatures, you are so much better equipped to be armoured up and to know what you're dealing with. Then you can get into their mindset and know how they're going to receive information you give them or how they're going to react in a negotiation process. So let's get into these weirdest of behaviours and see how it goes from there. See if it's helpful to you. And if you've experienced this, please leave it in the comments, or you've experienced anything rather odd or peculiar in your particular situation. So the first point I'd like to make, I have 13 things, weird behaviours of narcissists written down. The first point I'd like to make is that, as I said in my book, Weaponized Love, which is available on Amazon, let's give it a plug, I suppose, it's as if narcissists come from a totally different planet. And I've called that planet Narcdom for want of a difference between Earth. I really believe that narcissists are a different type of human being. They totally lack empathy, but they also have a different mindset. So understanding that a narcissist has a totally different mindset. When you're dealing with one, you're bringing your mindset into it and expecting them, because they look like a human being, to have the same thought processes you do, and to react in the same way a normal person would react. So if we can park that there and understand that you trying to understand a narcissist using your ideas of how human beings act and react to things is not going to get you to the place you need to be to negotiate with them. They have a different thought process. The best way I can describe it is like looking at them as a different species. Sure, they feel human emotions, etc., but they have a different thought process. So with that being said, let's get into the weird behaviours and give an explanation as to why they think these weird behaviours are either appropriate or normal. So the first one that I noticed with narcissists, and it's taken a long time and a lot of experience to understand that all of them do these things, or most of them do these things. Okay, so for instance, a negotiating process, such as, and in particular, the divorce or separation process and processes over children and custody and visitation and all of those things, but particularly when you're trying to extricate yourself from a narcissist in the divorce process. You go into the process, you contact your lawyer, The lawyer sends the narcissist a letter, or the narcissist's lawyer a letter. Or the narcissist won't appoint a lawyer, and your lawyer will have to send the narcissist the letter, from you, initiating proceedings or whatever, or asking, what's their situation on the situation. And you wait. And you wait. And you wait. One of the weird things narcissists do is don't answer communications. And you're scratching your head there and saying, because normal people will respond to a letter from somebody else's lawyer. They don't even think about it, excuse me. And you're going perplexed. Why have they not answered? Believe me, this is a totally typical weird behaviour of a narcissist. They resent you taking control and having the audacity to get your lawyer to write to them. So their response is no response. And it is literally them taking control, frustrating you in the process, and delaying your freedom from them. So they will draw out these processes as long as they possibly can. And check out the divorce podcasts if you want further information on these. I won't go further down this laneway. There is so much I could say about it as to why they delay processes, etc. But that is one of the weird things narcissists do, is they don't respond. And we're sitting there perplexed because the normal type of human being would respond to a lawyer's letter. So if your narcissist has done that, I'm telling you, it is the totally normal modus operandi of one of these people. Number 2, if you say no to a narcissist, and again, that's a whole podcast. If you say no to a narcissist and they won't accept that no, they will persist and persist and persist beyond what you would think is normal. And even if you say a big fat no again, you think, oh, well, that's it. Now then, they'll get the message this time. I mean, I was nearly verging on being rude. And back they come. They will not accept your no. And this can be particularly like when somebody a narcissist is trying to get you hooked into going on a date with them and you just don't want to date them, or you don't want to go on a date or whatever. But for whatever reason, it can be a familial narcissist, a workplace narcissist, they will keep coming back at you. And you will think then, because their persistence is beyond belief, well, they really, really, really must want this. It must be really important to them, or I must be really important to them to not take a no. People can also get worn down by the constant pressure, the constant chipping away, the constant, little animal gnawing at a big branch on a tree and eventually cutting the branch through because of the continual gnawing. So their persistence often works. And you can find this in business as well, where they can be successful temporarily when they will persist with different ideas until one of the ideas breaks through, or that they can push an agenda, and people get just so fed up, they just say, oh, go on then, let's do it, or whatever, we'll give it a try. You're obviously feeling very passionate about this. So that's one trait that a narcissist, when they want something to happen, will not give up, no matter how many obstacles are put in their way, or how unbelievable you think it is that they're continuing to persist. And that can verge on stalking. So a lot of narcissists will often stalk because they don't see your no as a no, they see it as a maybe. Number 3. This is one that I found gobsmacked me. And it's actually a little bit scary. They don't respect the law. Now you say maybe, Paula, well, you know, you say they don't respect the law, but they don't go through breaking traffic lights, or they don't get themselves into loads of different trouble. That's not quite what I mean. I mean, they think that they're above the law. So the laws of the land are for the little people like you and me, but they're not for narcissists in their minds. So if you go to court, say, and get a restraining order against a narcissist so that they're not to come near you or your property, they oftentimes don't obey that. So just be wary of that one. And if they don't obey it, obviously document it and, go to the police or whatever with it. And then you can get maybe a barring order after that. But again, leave in the comments, they have no respect for the law. So they will literally push the agendas and come up with reasons that they had to be at your house. Maybe it was a joint property you owned together and said they were there for essential maintenance. They'll make a case to the police when they come. If you ring the police and they'll say, look, I know that the restraining order is there, but this was essential maintenance. And I heard, that Paula contacted somebody else and they told me about it. So that's why I'm here. I'm not breaking the restraining order. So be wary of that one. It kind of, you think, oh, well, now the court has ruled that the narcissist should do this. And another thing is when a court rules say that the narcissist should, have the children there on certain days, they don't abide by that either. Again, they think that they're above the law. So you really have to pin narcissists down. You have to pin them down on dates and on times where there's no room for them to maneuver or interpret the law to suit themselves, because they will look for any loophole and reinterpret, say, a court order. So you really have to, if you're going to court, say to your lawyer, I need this specifically specified. Like, it's not just 2 days a week, it's these 2 days a week. In relation to changing, I cannot and will not be able to change unless we go back to court. Things like that, you actually have to be that pedantic. You have to go into that detail, where a narcissist will maneuver around any situation and come up with some semi-plausible explanation as to why they had to frustrate you and change what was actually laid down. Number 4, this is quite a horrible one, and you see, they'll do anything. They'll do anything to get an emotional reaction or to annoy you or to trigger you. So oftentimes, narcissists will speak really crudely in front of you, particularly if they know that's a trigger. Or if they know that you have to be with them or that you feel duty bound to look after them, they'll behave in a really disgusting, base manner so that you have to actually nearly partake in that energy or watch them do something disgusting while you're caring for them. I think it's the inside dark vileness coming out in them, and they want you to witness it, and they want you nearly to be cloyed into that fog of, I don't know, it's a horrible, horrible energy. It's really debasing, and you really feel awful when you leave them. You can even feel dirty, you can feel disgusting. It takes from your spirit. So if a narcissist is trying to bring you down to their level, have a good think about how much time you want to spend with that person. Put some boundaries in place there. Sorry, I'm just after looking at the camera, and for anyone that's on audio, I see Remy's doing his super chilled look there in the background. He's unbelievable. He really is. Aren't you, Rem? Okay, so number 5. Now, this happened to me, and you don't believe an adult is going to do this. So it takes a long time for you to to actually accept that this has happened. And this is why I find this is the weirdest behaviour. And I know I'm laughing now, but it would drive you around the bend when it's actually happening. They hide things on you. They hide things on you. So in the house, I remember the TV controls were hidden on me. And I think I've mentioned this in a podcast before. One night I was on my own and the narcissist was off somewhere. And it was actually the first time I'd ever been on my own in probably months. And I needed the break, as you know. The narcissist will exhaust you with all the commotions and the dramas and you coming to rescue them at every hand's turn. So there I was, ready to sit down to Netflix, and could I find those controls? There was no way I could find them. They'd hidden them. And I searched everywhere I possibly could. I lifted the sofa up twice, etc., without labouring the point. They came back the next day. I said, did you know where the controls were? And of course they didn't answer when I had texted them that night, and went in and said they were under the sofa. Bank cards can go missing. Anything that will exhaust and frustrate you and make you feel that you're losing your mind, that you're losing your memory, that you're not capable. So, when people say, well, if you were with a narcissist, why didn't you just leave? And I would say to you, it's a slow burn. It's a slow burn until you actually realise what's going on and you put everything together. And it's often the light bulb moments that we get when we look back on the relationship, or you're listening to a podcast like this and you say, that's what he did or she did. That's exactly what they did. I thought it was only me. I thought, no, all of them do these crazy, weird behaviours, or at least a good selection of these crazy, weird behaviours. Now, the next one is very serious. And, people think, well, normal people don't do this. This is like the small area in society of psychopaths and, something you'd see on a thriller on the TV. This is actually a hell of a lot more common than you might think. So if you've any suspicions and you're with somebody that you feel doesn't have your best interests at heart and you're feeling very insecure or unhappy in the relationship and a few other things have happened, narcissists will actually poison their partners. They'll poison other people as well. If they have access to your food all the time and you're continually sick and you're getting weaker and weaker, and you have a very strong suspicion that this person has something against you, or if they stand to inherit something from you, even like just, you have a joint home, be very, very careful, because they don't think that this is so out of the ordinary that they couldn't do this in a justified manner, because they justify everything to themselves. They would justify in their minds, you're a hateful, horrible, cruel person, and they haven't succeeded in life because of you, and you won't leave, and whatever they need to justify it to themselves. But this does happen. So I'm just going to leave that there for you. I don't want to start paranoia off, but it's better to be forearmed and forewarned, so that, you see, you think that you're paranoid. You think, no, they wouldn't possibly do that. That's just me being crazy. Like the narcissist said, I'm crazy. So I'm crazy thinking that. Maybe some of you are not so crazy thinking that. That's all I'll say. Oh, well, here's one of our favourites, number 7. I mean, I'm talking about the hoover here. And for anyone that's new to this world of ours, the hoover is not a Dyson. The hoover is a narcissist having dumped you cruelly and left you with absolutely 100% a surety that they hated you more than any other living creature on earth and beyond. And 6 months or a year later, They come back to suck you back into a relationship. Thus the term hoover or hoovering in. They try and hoover you back into a relationship. Now that is as abnormal or as weird as is possible to think if you really think about that. If you really think about somebody declaring their hatred for you and declaring your total unsuitability as a person to even walk God's earth, that you are a crazy daisy, that you're horrible, that you're a hateful person, then why on earth's name would you be viewed so differently in 6 months' time? To me, that is the sign of somebody who is insane. That's a weird behaviour of a narcissist. And don't accept it as being in any way normal, because they'll try and give you explanations like, I had time to think, I had time to reflect, I was very stressed at the time, my job was stressing me out, or I was very stressed, blah, blah, with whatever. I was very stressed that I couldn't get the key in the front door. They will come out with whatever to try and normalise abnormal behaviour. Keep your critical thinking head on and go, this is not normal. Number 8, narcissists frequently cheat on their partners, or cheat in business, or cheat in families. But the reason that I would give you in relation to cheating so easily and so prolifically is they never make attachments to people. They have no love or empathy. So literally, if you can put yourself as a narcissist who's emotionally 5 years of age, and you have 3 different stores, and they have goodies in each of the stores, but they have slightly different goodies in each of the 3 stores. You can't make your mind up. You go into the first store and you eat as much as you possibly can, but you get fed up with that because they don't have the variety that they have in the second store, even though they have some of the same stock they have in the first store. So, well, I'll go into the second store and I'll have what they don't have in the first store, and then I'll check the third store out just in case they have more or better stuff than they have in the first or the second store, even though it's all kind of very similar. That's a narcissist mindset. It's normal for them. When there's 3 stores open and the stores all have a variety of things the narcissist needs to survive and loves, why not go into each of the stores? A narcissist feels entitled to do that. They don't feel attachment to any of the particular stores. They just feel attachment to the supplies that the stores have. And I know you get what I'm talking about. That's why people are called narcissistic supplies. Number 9. I'm not saying that somebody that gets married multiple times or has children with different partners, multiple different partners, is a narcissist. But there's a high possibility, if they have the other traits of NPD, that they are, if they have multiple marriages and multiple children with multiple people. Because they don't respect our institutions, they don't respect the law, they're above the law, they don't respect marriage. Marriage is a tool of control. It's a way of acquiring assets. It is like going to a new state and signing up for, living in that state for a few years or a number of years. It's literally a convenience and a method of control. That is what marriage is to a narcissist. The gains of marriage and the control they have over the individual they marry. And it's the same with children. Children are a means of controlling a source of supply. A human being who has the children with you is going to be attached to you for a lifetime in some way, shape or form, which is a fantastic way for a narcissist to control, torture and torment and asset strip another person. 10. The reason that we can't often identify quickly a narcissist until we get a nose for them, and I know a lot of you have a nose for narcissists at this stage, is that they move around a lot in modern times. So we don't have the communities of old that would kind of have a general understanding that you might have what the old-fashioned terms for a person would have been. And generally they called men these things, but let's put it for the female population as well. They'd say, oh, he's a cad. Let's say she's a cad, or a player, or, whatever terms they would use in society to identify a person as not being of high moral character, of being somebody who doesn't stick in relationships, doesn't form integral attachments, and treats people badly. So there would be a general understanding in smaller communities that, oh no, you don't go out with that person because they're not of good character, basically. They're a narcissist. So they move around a lot, to avoid detection or identification in communities. So they start off brand new in a new community. Now, social media and things do catch up with them, but that is something that you'll find narcissists doing. Some narcissists, some prefer to keep a very cemented mask on and become upright members of certain communities and stay somewhere for 10 years and then go and reinvent themselves somewhere else totally, when their mask is cracking or somebody unmasks them, which does happen. So people keep saying, in different forums, oh, narcissists get away with everything. In my view, they don't. But it's just an opinion. Number 11, and we're doing 13 here, and I want to mention actually a program that we do on this channel. It's called the Buddy Program, so I'm going to mention that at the end, so bear with me if you're interested in that. Number 11, this is one of the weirdest ones. Supposing you do something, maybe you take up vegetarianism, or you buy a vintage car, something of that nature. The narcissist will criticize you for doing so, look down on you and saying that was a very stupid thing to do, or what do you want to do that for? And having put you down for doing it, they may go off to another relationship or whatever, and they will do the exact thing that you did. I mean the exact thing. They'll buy the exact same car. They'll go veggie. They'll, maybe you went for a holiday to the Seychelles and they told you how extravagant that was. Very dreadful of you, to waste all that money. What a stupid thing to do. And then they'll be off with the new supply to the Seychelles. So you try and get your head around that as being normal. And your head is literally buzzing, you're popping. It's like you cannot, no brain will not compute that because you're not a narcissist. But to the narcissist, this makes perfect sense because they feel entitled to, for you it was stupid to do that, but for them it's okay because they're entitled to it. They're someone of the stature, that should go there. But you wasting your money was wasted on you. You wouldn't be able to appreciate that like I am, says the narcissist. They have a totally different way of thinking. Number 12. Oh, this is a terrible one. And this occurs so much more way than you might think. as a method of controlling other people, or say you're withdrawing from the narcissist and nothing will stop you from withdrawing. You found them cheating, you found them robbing you. You just discovered they were narcissist, and that was enough in itself, because they were psychologically, emotionally, physically, in every other way treating you so badly. So you've got your case packed, you have your plane ticket booked, you're going out the door, and they break the news that they have a terminal illness. They do this. Can you believe they do this? Or you are starting a new job and it means moving, and they don't want to move, but there's no other way. You're determined. You've put up with this BS for so many years, and you're determined this is your way out, and this is your break. And they come up with this: they can't leave the jurisdiction because they need the hospital or the doctor that's in this hospital because they have a terminal illness. And you postpone your plans and you let that job go, and you believe them. And they wiggle their way out of it by saying months later, oh, well, great news, I'm cured. Or, I'm sorry for laughing at this, but it's just like, it's so crazy. Or, oh, they got it wrong, they misdiagnosed me. Isn't that amazing? Isn't it wonderful? So they will abuse and use what would be an extremely painful situation to blackmail you into staying with them, let you give up your opportunity to escape them by such a lie. By such a lie. The weird behaviours of narcissists. Be prepared. If you think you're with a narcissist, you go and check. You go and check with the hospital. You go and check with the doctor. Because they have no morality. They're capable of doing way worse than that. This is only the tip of the iceberg in relation to the weird behaviours of narcissists. And the last one I have down here, and say a lot of people do this, it's very normal, except narcissists are the best, most prolific members of dating sites. Because, you take a narcissist who sees people as sources of narcissistic supply, and you give them a shop where they can buy. Actually, they don't even have to buy. They can just pick for free some source of narcissistic supply, and there's loads of them. Loads of them. And they can even do a 50-50 and say that they're, they bat for both sides. So they can extend their reach and have double the choice. And I know I'm being slightly sarcastic, but it is confounding. It is a personality disorder, if you want to call it that. Or, as I call it, a spiritual affliction that they bring into normal society. So that's it on the podcast. Just to say to you, it's come up. I know there's a lot of new subscribers on the channel, and I really, really appreciate your support by having pushed that subscribe button, because all of these things help and keep us doing what we're doing here. So what I'd say to you is, in the past, we had, and still have, but I just haven't mentioned it much recently, we have a buddy system in operation, which means if you're looking for support, and I know these podcasts are free, obviously coaching isn't, the book, it has a slight cost, but the buddy system is where you leave your name in the comments and a contact detail for yourself. Leave the area you live in so that at least you're in the same or similar time zone, and say requesting buddy support. So essentially, I don't get involved in this. It's just you leave your name in the comments. You said buddy request, or check out and see if there's other buddy requests and answer somebody else. Leave your general time zone. If you are going to support each other, you can set up an email address specifically for that. So the person can contact you on that. And if anything goes wrong or you're not feeling comfortable with the person who contacts you, you can close that email down. It is the best and only way I can suggest that people get in touch with each other and support each other and become each other's buddy and write to each other and support each other in their journeys, in your journeys forward in the healing capacity. And I am going to start a members channel or section to the channel. It is weeks away. I have to learn how to do lives. I'm just being totally honest with you. So I'm going to, Keith is coming out and he's going to show me how to do lives, and I'll try and do them once every week or once every 2 weeks, and try and offer some other additional support so people can get talking to each other in the channel's members section. So that's all to come. That's all I have for now. Please take care of yourselves, and we will see you again very shortly. Bye for now.